What's going on, everybody? This is ALPAT day 51, and today we did the towing exercise that we were supposed to do a few days ago on the way out. We had good weather today, so we were able to come back in again close to Dutch Harbor, and we were able to hook up to one of those tugboats, and we were able to get those qualifications that people need. We are also doing some planning because tomorrow we are going to meet up with the Coast Guard cutter Healy. That is the largest ship that the Coast Guard has. It is an icebreaker, and it is up here in the Arctic regions, in the Alaska region, doing whatever it is that an icebreaker does. I will be honest, I do not know the mission they are doing up here right now. And that's not an uncommon thing. I could find out what mission it is that they're doing, but I don't really have interest in knowing that. And I mean that in like the most polite kind of way. We have our own mission going on here. It takes up a lot of my personal, mental bandwidth, the stuff that we have going on here. And so I just sort of keep that. I don't really have the bandwidth to sit down and look in detail for what the Healy is doing. But as part of that, we had to send 2 CIC personnel into the Maritime Security Detachment, or is it Maritime Safety Detachment? I feel bad. I don't even know our own Coast Guard acronyms. Here in Dutch Harbor, and we had to download some programming for some of our radios so that we could be fully functional in how we communicate with the Healy. And that's not an extremely unusual circumstance. We get most of our programs through the internet in one form or another. We don't have to be in port to do that often, but in this case, we did have to go into the MSD to get that. But the personnel came back and we got some additional work done on our radios. Actually, one thing that I do know, some of our other engineering personnel had to work on. The electronics technicians had a somewhat substantial casualty with one of our radio switches. So the way the radios work is there are actual physical radios, and then they go into this switcher, and when they come out the other side, we have for lack of a better term, just to explain it in a way that's understandable, we have essentially an iPad screen. Let's say it's not an iPad screen, it's not nearly that high tech, but we have a screen like that, and same as your iPad screen has all the app buttons, we have radio buttons on ours. And so it can go from one radio, and then you can program it to which one of these apps, and I use that loosely, one of these buttons on the equipment, and you push it, and that's what allows you to transmit on that particular radio. That's what the switcher does. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done on the switcher, because when the switcher does not work, the system doesn't know how to tell the radios where they're going. What we were able to find out is that there are ways that the radios work that don't require the switcher, which I didn't know. And so the ETs, they were up there for quite a long time. It took them several hours, and there were multiple ones up there. And so that was an extensive project that they had to do to make sure that we are fully functional with all of our radios, that we are able to do all of the missions, all of the communications that this ship is designed to do. And that was an extensive project that they had to work on today to keep us going correctly. And that started during my watch, and it actually ended up bleeding over for quite a bit of the rest of the day. Once we were back in the evening, one of our newly reported personnel was asking how some of the larger scale Coast Guard radio networks work. The most prominent one that would be known to the public is called Rescue 21. Rescue 21 is a system that we have at our search and rescue command centers so that we can meet mandates for what search and rescue coverage we're required to have. And that's the system that, at least in the lower 48, we use to make sure there is coverage. But she was asking how it goes from tower to tower, because actually yesterday, now that I remember, they were some people were explaining radios and radio towers in ways that is not how they work. So she was curious about that, and I was able to explain that for how our radio networks work. And in that case, actually how your cell phone service works, because the way our radios work is much the same as how a cellular telephone service works. If you didn't know, your cell phone is a radio. It has a radio transceiver in it. It transmits and receives, and that's how you are able to get audio calls. But anyway, that's getting deep into the weeds. I think I covered everything that we did today. We did a towing exercise, and then we had people go to the MSD. If you have questions about the Coast Guard, if you have questions about radio theory, leave them down below. I'll get back to you. I thank you for listening. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.